But welcoming to the Rhema studio, Justin Smith, kia ora.
Aotearoa.
I was thinking of you yesterday. I thought, well, look, I had the day off yesterday, so I was focusing on some other things and being with family and everything. But then when I saw the news headlines, I thought, I bet you Justin's a little bit jealous that he's not there. Did you have massive FOMO yesterday that you weren't in Wellington?
I did. I was sitting at my desk at around 11 a.m. yesterday, and I was watching Te Karere, and Scotty Morrison was on there sharing his whakaaro, boots on the ground.
Yep.
And I sort of realized, like, hold on a second. I've been so busy and caught up in my own self. End of year, school kids, what it's like. It's a very busy time of year. And
got a radio station to launch next year. That's kind of distracting you.
There's a lot going on in my life right now. But when I actually took the time to breathe and assess what was going on, and I saw the images that were coming out from yesterday's Hikoi in particular, I just went, I wish I could be there, being a part of that.
Yeah.
Being with those people.
It was amazing to watch, and we'll get into some of the details on this, but what drew you spiritually in some ways to that? Why did you think, gosh, I wish I was there? What would you have loved about being in that space? Sorry to rub in the, oh gosh, you...
No, it's good. Yeah, I know, I wasn't there, and I wish I was. But what I saw there was a representation of not just my peoples, being Māori, but actually New Zealanders and what we stand for and what I believe, makes us unique on the global stage, and particularly this ongoing conversation we've had around colonization, te tiriti o Waitangi, what it means to be Māori and what it means to be Māori and, for extension for me, New Zealander. I it's an important thing that I speak about a lot is my identity as Māori. I am Māori. I whakapapa Māori, and I can, I have my lineage, my whakapapa Ngāpuhi strictly, for me specifically, and I know that. But equally, so too do I whakapapa Engarahi or, European New Zealand. And I know my English heritage, and it's equally as important to me. So for me personally, I was sitting there and I see my Māori brethren, and I totally understand, and I share the same passion and the heart behind the message. But for me as well was seeing so many tangata tiriti hand in hand, and realizing this is the message, the heart, the spirit. I want to be there with my people, New Zealanders.
Yeah, no, it was amazing, and I got a bit of FOMO as well, actually, because it was a celebration. Yes, I mean we can't take the politics out of it, because the politics is the what drew those people together. Yeah. But it wasn't a riot. No, it was a celebration of what it means to be Māori. And, as you say, by extension, what it means to be a citizen of Aotearoa. Yeah,
and I saw a beautiful clip that that was doing the rounds on social media at the moment of a Pākehā gentleman who was a part of the Hīkoi in Tāmaki Makaurau here, Auckland, as he's walking over the Harbour Bridge. And he was reflecting on the fact that with the foreshore and seabed Hīkoi that happened at the time many years ago, he was a part of that. And when that was happening, in his experience, every fifth car, would beep and holler and shout abuse at the Hikoi and what was happening. Yep. And he was reflecting that as he was partaking in this current Hikoi, crossing that same harbour bridge for similar related matters, so too was he getting every fifth car honking, hooting and hollering. However, it was signs and shows of support and of aroha and of manaakitanga and just, support for what it represented for New Zealanders.
Hey, I don't want to just say, hey, and everybody held hands and sung Po Karakariana, because there is still a significant conflict and differences of opinion on this issue. People have strong opinions, and we will be getting into that later. But the thing that stood out for me is this was bigger than a particular issue. This was bigger than foreshore and seabed, as you mentioned. It was bigger than even Te Tiriti, if that's even possible. It was certainly bigger than Ngāpuhi or Ngāti Porou or Kingitanga or Ratana, these other reasons that Māori have to gather together. This was a big issue that brought all of those iwi together. I'm not sure we've seen something this significant.
No, and in fact we can reach into very recent history with the passing of Kingi Tuheitia earlier this year in the Waikato. Myself, I mentioned before, as my mum loves to say, we are Māori, we're Ngāpuhi. Truly, though, that's exactly how it is for us, and where I, whakapapa to the far north, is Ngāpuhi, as it is in all these different areas of Aotearoa, New Zealand, very distinct people groups. And yes, although we are all Māori, when it comes to a lot of matters, we are very staunchly sort of, about our rohe, our section of this country. The passing of Kingi Tuheitia earlier this year, it was a big thing about having a convoy and representation of peoples from Ngāpuhi who famously have never participated nor recognised kingitanga.
Yep.
At that time, it was actually, a coming together of all the different people groups underneath Māori, like iwi and hapu, especially Ngāpuhi. That was really significant, and yet that completely pales in comparison to at least what I've seen from this Hīkoi, where, it is an absolute no-brainer that we are Amanam, Ngāti Paro, Kaitahu, all people of Aotearoa and beyond just Māori as well.
And hey, it's certainly not just this was just Te Pāti Māori supporters. I think there was more people at the event than voted for Te Pāti Māori in the last election. I mean, look, don't quote me on that. I'm terrible at maths. But this will, I suppose, lead to more conversation. And it gives me hope, Justin, because, yes, okay, a lot of it was about shouting slogans that rhymed and waving flags yesterday, and that is the nature of that type of gathering. But if this type of event can bring people together to have respectful conversations, to have spaces where we can kōrero together, to talk about things that are important to us, that we're passionate about, that what connects us as the peoples of Aotearoa is more important than the tribal or even the racial differences between us. There's a lot of hope in that, but perhaps I'm naive. I don't know.
No, I definitely I sense that aroha and that wairua too. Even earlier in Auckland when the Hikoi arrived, my son had the opportunity to participate as part of his school because he is in a Māori immersion unit at high school, and as part of when the Hikoi was arriving to our part of the North Shore of Auckland at that evening, they had a pōhuri to welcome them onto where the Hikoi had stopped before it had launched the next day to come over the Harbour Bridge. Yep. And I was reflecting with Matua, one of the teachers who helped officiate that whole ceremony, and he was echoing those sentiments. He was like, Justin, it's really interesting. You can sense the wairua, the aroha, the spirit, the love behind this, and I've seen that at least from all of the stuff and coverage that I've seen online is on the fringes, as is with all of these kinds of things. There's some outliers and some there's the extremities. Yep. I don't know that I've seen such a unified sort of heart, right in the center, regardless of people's opinions, like you said, and stance, political or otherwise, and thoughts on the matter. The unified heart behind it, I think, is something that I've not seen ever in my history in Aotearoa.
Hey, Justin, I've got an antidote to your FOMO, actually, because neither of us was there yesterday. Neither of us had the opportunity to take part in the Hikoi. But there's another Hikoi, of course, coming up early next year, Waitangi Week. I'm going to be broadcasting this show live from a little caravan in the upper part on the actual treaty grounds. This is your territory. This is Ngāpuhi territory. It would be wonderful if you had the opportunity to join me there. So don't think, I could have gone to Waitangi and been with Andrew as part of that broadcast. But don't have FOMO a second time.
I won't. I look forward to it. And Waitangi is, I whakapapa specifically to the Hokianga. It's 20 minutes over the hill. I know because my mum lives there now in Okaiho. So a Hīkoi maybe, but for me, certainly next year, a homecoming. Yeah, no, that would be absolutely fantastic. And hey, gives us lots of things to talk about. This year, Waitangi was a bit fraught. But hey, certainly the spirit that we saw yesterday in Wellington, looking forward to good things for Waitangi next year. But some tough conversations to have along the way, perhaps. Justin, thanks for what you do and what you bring. Thanks for joining us. Kia ora. Kia ora.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.